You've finished grading the assignment. The scores are in. Some students did well, some students struggled. And now comes the question that really matters. What should you teach next? Because grading data is only useful if it helps you make better instructional decisions. It should help you identify what needs reteaching, which students need small group support, and how to plan the next lesson with confidence. In this video, we'll look at how teachers can use grading data to plan reteaching and small group instruction. We'll cover why this matters, what kind of patterns teachers should look for, and how GradingPal Analytics can help turn graded assignments into clear, practical teaching actions. A class average can tell you how the class performed overall. A gradebook can tell you which students scored high or low. But that's not enough for instruction. A score of 72 does not automatically tell you whether a student struggled with vocabulary, reasoning, evidence, calculation structure, or a specific misconception. And a class average of 78% does not tell you whether the whole class needs reteaching or whether only a small group needs targeted support. That is the gap teachers face every day. Reteaching is not simply repeating the same lesson again. Effective reteaching means using evidence from student work to identify the exact skill, concept, or misconception that needs attention. It could be a whole class reteach if most students miss the same concept. It could be a short mini lesson if students understood the basics but missed one important step. Or it could be a small group intervention for a few students who share the same gap. The goal is not to slow the class down. The goal is to move learning forward with greater precision. Small group instruction helps teachers avoid the two common extremes. One extreme is reteaching everything to everyone, even when only a few students need it. The other extreme is moving ahead too quickly because the class average looks acceptable. Small groups give teachers a better option. They allow you to group students by shared needs. Maybe one group needs help with thesis statements and another group needs practice with evidence. That is where grading data becomes powerful. After grading, the most useful question is not what score did each student get. A better question is, what does this data tell me to do tomorrow? To answer that, teachers need to see patterns. They need to see strengths, weaknesses, misconceptions, rubric-level performance, question-level performance, and student groupings. A strong grading to instruction workflow looks like this. First, grade the assignment. Second, analyze the results. Third, identify the most important learning gaps. Fourth, group students based on shared needs. Fifth, create reteaching materials, practice activities, and quick checks for understanding. And finally, use that plan to reteach, review, and move students forward. That sounds simple, but doing it manually can take a lot of time. Most teachers can spot patterns when they have enough time, but after grading, teachers often have to manually sort the papers, scan rubric rows, look for repeated errors, identify which students share the same gap, and then create a reteaching activity from scratch. That's valuable work, but it's also time-consuming. And when teachers are grading multiple classes, multiple subjects, or multiple assignment types, the data review process can easily become another workload burden. This is where GradingPal Analytics helps. After an assignment is graded, GradingPal can organize the results into a clear analytics dashboard that helps teachers understand what happened, why it happened, and it can help them understand what to do next. The Overview tab starts with a plain language performance summary. It also shows score distribution, patterns in score bands, trends across criterion breakdown, Those are scores that align to specific rubric rows. It also shows top performers and students to follow up with. But it doesn't just show numbers. It also surfaces the top strengths and weaknesses here and misconceptions. That means the teacher can quickly see what students understood, where they struggled, and what misunderstanding might need to be addressed next. The Strengths and Weaknesses tab goes deeper. This is where teachers can see patterns from the student work named and represented with direct quotes from student work. That's true for both strengths on the left and weaknesses on the right. The scores table helps teachers move from class patterns to individual students. A teacher could scan a rubric row, actually down a column here, and we can compare performance across students and quickly see which students need support with specific skills. This is especially meaningful for building small groups. Instead of grouping students only by total score, teachers can group them by shared instructional need. That creates better groups and more focused reteaching. For structured assignments like quizzes, tests, worksheets, and problem sets, the question analytics becomes especially useful. Teachers can see performance question by question. If nearly everyone missed a question, that may signal a whole class reteach, or if some students missed it, that may be better for small group review. If most students got the question right, then the teacher may not need to spend valuable class time reteaching it. This helps teachers make better decisions about where to focus. The Recommendations tab is where the data becomes an instructional plan. GradingPal can suggest targeted reteaching. Here you see it for small groups. Sometimes you'd see there that it needs to be a whole class reteach. When you click in here, we see a roster of students who need the support that's being recommended here. And then when you scroll down, it can provide ready-to-use prompts for materials such as a small group activity, a practice worksheet, or a quick formative check. The prompts are here for you to see, and you can also click to create with another LLM. Then the materials are ready for teachers to review, edit, adapt, and decide what to use. The teacher stays in control. Let's imagine a writing assignment. The class does well on thesis statements. Most students can make a claim, but the data shows that several students struggle to explain how evidence supports that claim. That is an important distinction. The whole class may not need another lesson on writing a thesis, but a small group may need focused practice on moving from evidence summary to evidence analysis. With that insight, the teacher can pull the right students, use a targeted activity, and check for understanding before the next major writing task. Now imagine a science test. The total score, is useful, but the question level data tells a better story. Maybe students did well on definitions, but struggled with labeling a diagram or explaining a multi-step process. That tells the teacher what to do next. Instead of reteaching the entire unit, the teacher can focus on the exact concept that broke down. Maybe it becomes a whole class mini lesson. Maybe it becomes a short station activity. Maybe it becomes a small group reteach with a quick formative check. The data helps make that decision clearer. The benefit for teachers is not just more data, it's better instructional clarity. Teachers can spend less time guessing what went wrong and more time planning what to do next. They can create small groups based on actual student needs. They can reteach the right skill at the right time. They can use class time more efficiently. And they can move from grading to instruction faster. Students benefit too. When reteaching is more precise, students get support that is actually connected to their learning gap. They're not simply told to study harder or improve analysis. They receive clearer next steps. A student who needs help with evidence explanation gets practice with evidence explanation. A student who needs help with diagram labeling gets focused practice on that skill. A student who has a specific misconception gets a chance to correct it before it becomes permanent. That is how grading data can support learning, not just reporting. For school leaders and instructional coaches, this kind of analytics can also support stronger instructional conversations. Instead of looking only at final grades, teams can discuss patterns in learning. Which skills are strong, which concepts need reteaching, which misconceptions are appearing across multiple students or classes, what supports would help teachers respond faster. That makes grading data more useful for planning, coaching, and continuous improvement. One important point: analytics should not replace teacher judgment. The teacher knows the students, the classroom context, the curriculum, and the instructional goals. GradingPal Analytics is designed to support that judgment. It helps surface patterns, organize students, and generate starting points for reteaching materials. But the teacher reviews the recommendations, edits the materials, and decides what is right for the class. The teacher stays in control. So here is a simple workflow teachers can use. Review the class performance, identify strengths and gaps, look for common misconceptions, group students by shared instructional need, create targeted reteaching materials, and then check understanding again. That last step matters. Reteaching should lead to another quick check so the teacher knows whether the gap has actually been closed. Grading should not be the end of the learning process. It should help teachers decide what comes next. When grading reveals strengths, gaps, misconceptions, and student groupings, teachers can plan reteaching with more confidence and give students more targeted support. That is the power of using grading data well, and that is what GradingPal Analytics is built to help teachers do. To see how GradingPal can help you turn scores into reteaching plans, small groups, and classroom insights, visit www.gradingpal.com.